Welcome to you all. It's wonderful to see you all here today on this very beautiful day. Please come on in. Welcome. My name is Maryclaire Moroney, and I'm a professor in the Department of English. I also work in the academic advising program here at John Carroll. I'm joined today by my colleague, Pat Mullane, who is the Executive Director of Career Services at John Carroll. We also have two graduating seniors. Did you hear those beautiful words? Graduating seniors, Kathleen and Shannon. And I'm also joined by Hannah Suttles, who's in the Master's in Counseling at John Carroll and works in our academic coaching program as well. So she will also be available to talk to you a little bit about that aspect of our resources. So what we're here to do today is to help. Oops, let's see. Okay.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, to help with a few things. We understand that one of the most anxiety-provoking questions you can ask a high school senior is, what are you going to major in? And apparently the appropriate answer is not, I have no idea. But we are here to let you know that that is actually a very perfectly all right answer. And we're going to give you a couple of reasons why we say that is true. First and foremost, your college experience is more than your major. That's pretty centrally important. We have a core curriculum which has foundational competencies for the 21st century lives we are all leading, right? And those competencies are embedded throughout the curriculum, and you'll start them day one. Of course, we want to focus your attention on excellence in oral and written communication skills, quantitative analysis, but also we have an integrative curriculum, so we really work with you on interdisciplinary and integrated thinking, and that happens inside the core, no matter what your major. We know that the problems facing our world are not to be solved with any single group or any single discipline. So we show you, actively show you, and teach you how to approach problems from multiple disciplinary points of view. We also emphasize, as a Jesuit and Catholic institution, ethical reasoning. Ethical reasoning, how you reason yourselves through very complex problems. This room here next year will be an innovation hub for our entrepreneurship program. We're very invested in creative problem solving, and we have a lot of coursework directly addressing that skill set. Last and not least, we're global citizens. We're not just citizens of a particular town or even a particular country, and we have stewardship of the planet. So we're really introducing you to the knowledge, the ideas, the connections you need to be making on your way out the door. Fortunately for all of us, those are the skills that employers want. But I'm here to tell you as well that we're not here to train you for your first job after college. We're here to provide a foundation for your life and for your career or careers as they unfold, right, in real time. It's very unlikely that the job you get right out of college is going to be the job you have for the 40 years of your career, right? And that's just not the way life goes. So we build in flexibility. We build in the skills that you really need to contribute, especially innovation in a globally connected workplace. Our core builds those skills. It doesn't matter what you major in, you are going to get those skills in spades, built over and over again with increasing depth and complexity as you go through your 4 years of college. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague.
Hi. And it's the space bar that gets into it. Good morning. Again, I'm Pat Mullane. I'm Executive Director of the Career Center. And I want to welcome you all here. This is a great day for you all to become Blue Streaks. All right? So that's our goal, at least. So how much does major matter? All right? As it says here, probably not as much as you think. Your major really does not necessarily drive what you're going to do next. In fact, there's research that shows that upwards of 80% of college graduates, 5 years out of college, are in areas unrelated to their undergraduate major. Now, there are certain areas where that's important, maybe. Well, if you're coming in, if you want to be an accountant, should you major in accountancy? Probably. But let's say in your senior year you decide, oh, I think I want to be an accountant. Does that mean it's done and over with? No, because there's postgraduate programs that you can get into that will allow you to be an accountant. There's very little that is shut off to you when you graduate from college, right? So you have a lot of options. But what does matter? All right, if major doesn't really matter as much, what does matter? GPA matters. It matters that you do well, because the higher your GPA, the more doors that are open for you. All right, the more opportunities that you have for fellowships, for scholarships, for the top-end jobs. You look like in any field, the high-end jobs are really looked at for your kind of 3.5 and above, right? And if you have that, you have just a lot more options. The other thing that really matters is your career-related experiences, the things you do along the way, all right? So engagement in student organizations, and I'll include athletics in that. And employers are not looking for breadth here. It's not, oh, have you been involved in 10 things? It is, have you been involved in 2 or 3 things that you really have got involved in and developed a skill set, maybe had a leadership experience. It is service and volunteer work, and the fact that you're out there expanding your knowledge and understanding of what the full world is like. It is research, and there's some areas where research is critical. If you want to go to end up going the science route, doing research with your faculty members, which is very easy to do at an institution like John Carroll, that is really an important component. Summer job, a good summer job. If you've been a lifeguard for the past 3 years, but this year that you're the head lifeguard and you're running the snack bar, that's something that an employer and graduate programs would love to see, because you're demonstrating your skill set. And of course the internship, you always hear about that. That's an important aspect, that you get out there in the world of work. And all of this is about your ability to demonstrate what I'm learning in the classroom and how I'm applying that and using it. And this is what employers and graduate schools want to see. So if, let's say, you had a goal of getting yourself to Wall Street, and at the very pinnacle of Wall Street you want to go to work for Goldman Sachs, right, or Morgan Stanley. If you are a business major with a 3.0, that's a non-starter, okay? Because it's 3.5 and above to get those jobs. If you're a philosophy major with a 3.5 and you've taken a couple of economics or business courses and you've gotten a couple of good internships, you're in. All right? So that's what really matters. Again, it's not really the major. The next thing I want to really talk about is that major decision. Okay? Actually, before I do that, it is the give yourself time piece. And that is important. It's a reason we give you 2 years to decide what your major is. All right? And we give you that core curriculum to also do some exploration and gain an understanding. Because we want you to get out here and explore. You're going to hear from 2 seniors about their journey, right? And you're going to hear how what they planned is not what ended up happening. And I think you'll find it to be a very interesting journey for both of them, and they're not unusual. So what I want to talk about then is choosing a major, though. All right? Now, what I'm about ready to talk about is going to really apply for anywhere you decide to go. Now, we know the absolute best decision you can make is to go to John Carroll, right? If you make the mistake of going somewhere else, this will still apply, all right? But this is really a decision-making process that mirrors what we're going to engage you in making your career decisions and figuring out what you want to do next. And by the way, just to put you a little at ease, I know you're thinking about major and have some angst about that, eventually have angst about the career. Remember, all we're really working for in the Career Center here is helping you to decide what you're going to do next after graduation. Very few of you are going to be making lifelong career decisions because you're going to have a lot of changes along the way. All right? But we're here to help you do that. But this mirrors that process, and what it's really all about is gathering as much information as you can. So when you're getting ready to choose your major, you should be looking ahead. If you're a sophomore, if you think you want to be an English major, and looking at what's the coursework I'm going to be taking, am I really going to be interested in that? You should be talking to faculty and be asking them, what is it to be in this major? What do you expect out of me? You should be talking to upper class students, to juniors and seniors, and find out what is the expectation? What has it been like for you? And you should also be talking to alumni. Finding alumni who are 5 to 10 years out, because that's at the point where they're really able to say and see, because they have the experience, this is the difference that my education made. Right? And how being a Blue Streak and being a John Carroll and being a history major has given me advantage over those people that I'm out there competing with. And you should meet with an academic advisor and career advisor, because we're here to help you do all of this, right? But we also work hard to make sure you have the opportunities to do all of this. So this applies wherever you go. Maryclaire now is going to talk about, though, at John Carroll, how this really fits into who we are as an institution, as a Jesuit and Ignatian institution.
Thank you, Pat. So the Jesuit tradition of reflection leading to action has served the order well for more than 450 years. And as a teaching order, an order particularly committed to the formation of the young, it's a strong, strong paradigm to rely on, a good foundational framework to rely on. This framework for reflection really functions like this. You have experience inside the classroom or maybe outside of the classroom on a service site. You reflect on your experiences in a very formalized way through writing, through discussion, processing your experience, your ideas, your thoughts. But then that reflection is intended to lead to action. So in other words, the paradigm here, the framework here is not intended to simply promote the increase of knowledge for you. It's also to help you act in a way that is consistent with what you have reflected on doing. And beyond that action is transformation. We're looking really at evaluating your action, going back to the experience with a new framework or a new lens for understanding it. So we're really thinking about you as a transformational agent out in the world and the ways in which you yourself are transformed by the experiences and the reflections that you have. There are more than 70, 80 service learning courses offered at the university every semester. These are embedded in various majors, and these help you get out of the classroom at various kinds of sites, think a lot about what you're doing, bring it back to the classroom for reflection and processing, and then take you right back out. This is similar to the process that you're using, of course, in selecting your major and deciding on your career path. It's about experiential learning, reflection in a very coherent way on what you've done and what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and then back to it. So we really want to encourage you to take advantage of this aspect of our curriculum. It's a tried and true process, and it leads to very good success. Resources to help you abound at our university. Many of them are right outside the door. A satellite of the Writing Center is right here. You can peek your head in and see what that looks like. The bigger Writing Center is across the way there in the O'Malley Center. So we really work on care about your written expression, of course. The Learning Commons is also right here, and that is a site for peer tutoring in a number of content areas. And you can see people scribbling madly on whiteboards and sitting in comfy chairs and reading their homework and asking questions of peer tutors who are there. I'm going to come back to academic coaching in just a moment. We have a very strong student accessibility services for students who have learning differences of various kinds, adaptive technologies, specialized tutoring, as well as accommodation plans that are worked out with Allison West, the director of that center, communicated to faculty and supported by our office. So there's very much a closed loop and support on that. And of course, we have rich resources at the Career Services Center. I'd like to introduce again Anna Suttles, who helps with our academic coaching and study strategies. Anna, would you just take a minute to talk a little bit about what that is and what you offer?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So academic coaching is a really great resource and can be really beneficial to a lot of students here on campus. So it's about, between a half hour and an hour kind of session with myself or our other graduate assistant, Logan. And we kind of focus on finding those academic strengths and kind of exploring your academic goals. And we work on, the pieces of time management, motivation, study strategies, note-taking skills to really help you be the most effective student in the classroom.
Thank you. And we have some of those materials if afterwards you would like to pick up We have a guide for undecided major exploration, and we have some more materials on our coaching program, and you're welcome to take those. I think we are turning now to our two students. So we have two graduating seniors who have very graciously agreed to share their journey with us today. May I start with Shannon, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So good morning, everybody. I hope you all are as in love with Dr. as I am. So my name is Shannon Poppe. I'm a human resource management and business management double major. I'm graduating in May, which is really exciting. I also serve as an RA on campus, so some of you might see me later. I'll be in Campion from 2 to 4. As far as my journey for deciding what to do after graduation, I came into school pretty decided that I was going to be an HR major. I was going to go get a job afterwards, I was going to work in the corporate world, and it was going to be great. After my first year on campus, I was lucky enough to have an internship at Swagelok, which is a company in Solon, Ohio, so just on the east side. It's about 20 minutes away from here. I worked in their business system transformation department, which we worked on organizational change and leadership, which is related to HR, but not directly. So it was a great experience. I learned so much about professionalism and being able to write really professional emails and Excel, and so it was a lot of really great transferable skills, but not necessarily HR. And so the next summer, I went back to Swagelok, and I had an internship there in their internal communications department, where I learned again more about professional communications, what that looks like in a large corporation, and then it still wasn't HR. So it still felt a little bit off, but I was still hopeful that HR was still the path for me. So I declared at the end of my sophomore year. And then in the spring of 2016, which was my junior year, I worked at Omnova Corporation, which is over in Beechwood, so super close. The commute was great. And in there, I worked on their social media recruiting. So it was in HR. My manager was the director of talent management. She was wonderful, but I was finally doing what I was supposed to be loving, and I just wasn't thrilled. I would come home from work and I would be really excited to do all of my RA paperwork, which I don't know if any of you have ever filled out any incident reports, but they're just not fun. So it was really interesting to find joy and excitement into something that kind of seems mundane. So I interned at Omnova, we were able to have a conversation, my manager and I, just about, okay, I'm not really happy doing what I'm doing. So what does that look like in this process? So she's been a professional in this field for a while, so she was able to talk about, like, okay, you might enjoy pieces of HR, but maybe HR isn't for you. And of course that's crazy because I've been an HR major for 3 years, of course it's for me. So I did one more internship in HR. I worked at MRI Software, which is a different feel of a company. It's you wear jeans to work, there's bright colorful walls, and I really loved the atmosphere. I loved my manager. I liked what I was doing, but I was still really excited to come back to school to do all of my RA things. I work on our programming board here, so that's student activities, student engagement. If you get a chance to stop by the Involvement Fair booth, I think that's from 2 to 4 as well. So stop by, they're a really cool group. And I was just really excited about what I was doing there. And so I was able to have a conversation with my advisor here. Her name is Dr. Rosanna Miguel. She's in the HR department. And we talked about, okay, if I like things about HR, but I don't really like HR, what do I do with that? And she said, okay, well, what do you actually like to do? And I was like, well, I like being an RA. I like being in programming. It's what's really exciting to me. It's what I find joy doing. And she's like, okay, well, there's a career path there. And so as of this summer, I switched my path just last summer, and I applied to graduate school. I took my GRE. It was a very involved process, and definitely something that was kind of shocking to my parents, because all the conversations that they've had was, okay, Shannon's going to be an HR major. and she's going to get a job afterwards, and she's not going to do school for 2 more years, but here we are. And luckily, they've been really supportive throughout the process. But it was just being able to say, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I'm excited to do, I want to help people develop. That was the whole intent with HR, but I guess my focus is instead going to be helping young students, young adults develop.
So
that'll be
what's your
exciting.
degree going to be in then?
So my degree is still, graduating from John Carroll, I'm still an HR major. It's in human resource, but when I graduate, I'm going to be pursuing my Master's of Education in Higher Education and Student Affairs. So working in this realm, which is exciting.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Kathleen Wazevich, and Margaret, I have to call you out. I'm excited because my sister's here, and my mom, who's also an alum. But I am an integrated marketing communications student here, so this is part of the communication school, not the business school. But it's kind of the mix of the two, so if that's really interesting to you, you like business aspects, but you want to be creative, this could for sure be a field for you, and you can grab me and talk to me. But I started out as a biology major, and was a biology major pretty much for 3 years. So I was biology, and for a quick little summer, I was psych. But I've been biology up until last summer, and I switched over when I really realized that I really wanted to be more creative, and I was kind of pursuing the med school OBGYN route specifically, and to help me in that decision, I shadowed a ton of people. So at the clinic and both UH, I shadowed OBGYNs and even nurse midwives to kind of figure out where I would fit in, but really didn't like the surgery piece personally, and there's a ton of that within that field, and that's my only real medical interest. So I kind of had to reevaluate and kind of went over to the right side brain battle and picked the other. And so I now get to announce that I have a job at American Greetings after graduation as a marketing analyst, so it all worked out. But if you decide to switch as late as I did, you will have to take 18 credits both semesters as a senior, which I would not recommend. But it has worked out, so for sure you do have some wiggle room in there, so don't feel like you're locked in even as an incoming senior, apparently, in the same school. That's my story.
So, Kathleen, who helped you along the way? Like, who did you talk to as you went through all of this?
I had really good advisors, so you'll start out with a freshman and sophomore year advisor, which might not be in your major, especially since that will obviously change for a lot of people. And he was really, really helpful and great. But then I reached out to those specific kind of niches that I was looking at. So the pre-health coordinator would hook me up with these shadowing experiences. So it doesn't have to be full-blown internships that you explore things with, because that can be a big time commitment. So even shadowing or picking somebody's brain over the phone about what they do, how they've gotten there, really was the potentially deciding factor in my journey. If I wouldn't have shadowed and been in the OR, I would have still been in that field and been going to med school maybe. So it would have been too late in the game. So I think that was really a deciding factor. Those shadowing experiences really helped me. I also did have 3 internships along the way, and those were all creative. So while I was keeping along with my science courses, I was doing more creative, more business, more marketing kinds of internships on the side, which helped me explore both at the same time.
So hopefully you've seen with this, and their example is not unusual, right?
No.
I mean, I'm sure you have a number of friends who've been through this. So you're going to find that your journey, again, may not be how you expect to start out. The fact that you're undecided to us, as Maryclaire said at the beginning, is a good thing, all right? And we are set up to help you through that and help you make those decisions. So you can have a very nice journey here. So what we'd like to do next is to see if you have any questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, so these stories are very helpful. Can you help us think about the process for a student who has been accepted into one school, but then may want to transfer into another school or declare a different major? And in particular, if you could help us think about the risk of, wanting to, as a non-business major, wanting to declare as a business major, recognizing that your business school is very competitive, and the risk that student isn't accepted into the business school. Can you help us think about that?
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you raised that that question. There's direct admit into Bowler. But if you, for example, begin as in the humanities or social sciences, take some business classes and decide that that's really for you, there are a number of different paths you have. As long as you meet the prerequisites and the GPA, you are in. You can be admitted to Bowler. There's not a quota, right? So it's a 2.0 in your business courses that you have to have. And that's really for your own benefit. If you don't have a 2.0 in the introductory courses, you're probably not going to be successful when you get to intermediate accounting or a more advanced finance. But I'd also like to suggest, too, that if you are a sophomore or a junior who's taken a few business classes, but you're in a different field and you think, well, I'd like a business minor. I think that would be a great idea. Or I'll take the prerequisites for our 5th year MBA so I can have the major I want and I can also get my MBA in 5 years. Those are all possibilities. You can certainly just change your major to a Bowler major. You can pick up a very robust Bowler minor, or you can just add the 5th year MBA at the end of your program, no matter what your major.
So what are those prerequisites? A minimum of a 2.0 in your business class?
It's the prerequisite business classes are the year of economics, year of accounting, and a handful of other business courses.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no quota. So you can explore without being committed.
But the other side of that coin is you don't have to be a business major to get into the business world, right?
That's
if you are in an English major, it is very easy, right, to pick up the right internships, or a history major, a philosophy major,
Yes.
whatever it is, and to pick up the right experiences and make that transition. Because again, the major doesn't necessarily drive where you're going to go. So even then, students, so you saw in Shannon's case, she was an HR major, but easily made that transition based on her experiences to get accepted into a graduate program. So you really don't have to worry that much, unless it's something that's very skills specific, like accounting, to get into the field. But those kinds of fields, they're the exception. They're not the rule, that you have to have this really focused curriculum in order to break into that field.
Yeah, go ahead.
How and when do undecided students plan their first academic year?
In June or July. When you come here for orientation, you're going to get more academic advising, both group and individual, including general advising. So what we would recommend then is you start with some of your foundational competency work and you take at least 2 courses to explore different potential majors that are of interest to you. And there you are. You say yes or no, and then you either keep with those or you try something else in the spring of your freshman year. Meanwhile, we plan this so as much of this as possible still meets your core requirements. That's how you do it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm wondering, could you maybe just give us an example of what that first year coursework might look like?
Yes. Any particular major?
Some kind of business sports management is what
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about.
Yeah. So for the first semester, you would be taking your foundational work in academic writing and in speech communication. If you're thinking business or science, you would probably also take a course in math, plus 2 courses that are connected to that major. If you are more humanities, social sciences, you might take your foreign language that first year as well. Although international business with language and culture, you have to take all 4 years, you have to do your language because you're really expected to have a very high degree of fluency at the end. For the science majors, you really need to talk to your science faculty about whether you want to do principles of biology, chemistry, and calculus at the same time, or whether you want to stagger those, and that depends on your preparation and your interests. So what we will do is have your core foundational courses, along with at least 1, usually 2 courses potentially for the major.
I think the big thing in there, keep in mind in orientation, we're going to be working directly with the students to help them figure what makes the most sense for them. So it's very much of a personalized approach to helping them shape their start.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Determine placement and math. Do you guys have
Yeah.
placement tests or
We-
based on your ACT?
It is, to a large extent. So the English department has gotten a rubric together in which they look at high school GPA, your grade specifically for writing, and the ACT, SAT scores to place you in your English class. The math department does exactly the same thing. So that's information that the faculty has when they work with your student over the
So is that
summer.
like in June, that they'll find
Yes, exactly, exactly. And the language placement they'll take when they get here. So the foreign language test they'll take while they get here. And then you can make a decision about whether you want to pursue that language. Is it career related? Do you have other interests? And then you take it from there.
My question is about the internships. Can you do all 4 summers of an internship?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, all right? Yes, you could. It gets a little hard to find internships when you're younger because you don't have as much experience. But this is where I really want to shape this as it's not really internships. Internship is just one component. It's just one way to gain experience. It's really about career-related experiences. And that can be that good summer job. It can be doing research with your faculty over the summer. It can be a good volunteer experience, right? So it really isn't about, it doesn't have to be called an internship to be able to demonstrate that you've got a skill set and you're applying what you're learning in the classroom. Now, at some point, is it a good idea to get that internship with an organization that has an organized internship training program and everything? Yes. Can a student do it all 4 summers as an actual internship? Maybe, maybe not.
Do you have a list of different, or does the student find it on their own and come to you and say, does this qualify, or is this a good thing to go?
Both. So we have a database that students have access to where we have employers posting in there, right? And all across the board, employers posting. So they can find internships in there. We also work with students in order to help them get to the resources, right? But our goal in career services is an educational goal. So we're not going to sit there and say to a student, here's the internship for you, go do it, and you're all set, all right? We're educational because students are going to have to do this work again and again and again in their lifetimes. So our focus is working with them on developing the skill set to be able to do that search so they know how to do it, right? Because as you know from your own careers, things change. And things are going to change for you sometimes whether you like them or not, right? And you need to do that job search. And research shows that this generation, which is now, by the way, if you're calling your children millennials, they are not millennials, all right? They're Generation Z. The last millennials just graduated last year. Okay, we have a few in this class, but that's all over with. And this generation, by the way, if you look at the research, is different in some very significant ways. But that's an entirely different presentation, possibly on Family Weekend. So.
Thank you again for the information. The question I have is, can you tell me what the percentage of graduating seniors finished in 4 years at John Carroll?
Yeah, and by the way, I'm only here, this is my 2nd month here.
Yeah.
So for you students who will be coming here, it's going to still be my freshman year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we have, sometimes it's a little bit about counting whether it's May or August. If we're counting over August, then it's at least 70%, but that jumps significantly if you include the following semester. So most people get done with no problem in 4 years. Some people, and to the National Educational Statistics, stops you on June 1 from counting, whereas we have at least 50 or 60 additional seniors finish in August, which I consider 4 years.
And oftentimes those reasons why they're doing that can be because along the way they became ill, right? And they needed time out. They might have gone and done a different maybe study abroad program that they then need to finish. So there can be a lot of reasons why that delay happens, that it's not about, I couldn't get into a course.
No.
There's very little of any of that. I couldn't get a course, so I had to wait to graduate.
That's not
so,
us.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
That's not here. Yeah, Henry.
Can I just add a point?
Yeah, absolutely.
With the internship question, something that's really awesome about John Carroll too is they spoke a little bit earlier about the service learning courses, but you don't even have to be registered for a service learning course to participate in service at John Carroll, which is really awesome, a way to get involved in kind of seeing where your passions are, in addition to kind of your major and career paths. So I know when I applied to graduate school, that was really something that stood out on my resume, was the different service sites that I did. So that's also something to keep in mind if they don't have time for a summer internship or they don't want to commit to something that they're unsure of for a whole summer. you can participate in weekly service or one-time service events at John Carroll throughout the school year too that kind of help see where their passions
And that,
lie.
and that service is something that, you know, graduate schools, but also businesses really like to see, that engagement in the community.
Yeah.
For many businesses, is something that they really want.
Two things, could you explain a little bit more about what's in the core curriculum and what the service learning classes are?
Sure. The core curriculum is in 3 parts. There's the foundational work in writing, public speaking, quantitative analysis, and foreign language. Then there's a Jesuit heritage component, which really works on your philosophy, background in theology. There's 2 courses in each. A course in social justice, which can be in any department, and some performing arts. So it's very well-rounded. In the middle, we have our innovative integrative curriculum, which is about team-taught learning and linked course learning, multidisciplinary opportunities. So that's the core. And then the second piece you were asking. The service learning. We have service learning components in a number of different courses. The Intro to Theology is one place, but in the education department, they go out and do shadowing. A lot of your Bowler courses will do that too. Psychology sends people to all kinds of different sites,
So
starting at the 200 level.
Could you give a better idea of what exactly service learning is?
Certainly. So for example, students in 262, which is adolescent development, or 261, Psych 261, child development, could go to any number of schools or sites for children with disabilities, for example. And they will be putting into practice the theoretical information they're learning in class through their interactions with those students. Then they come back to class and they say, what did you see? What was that like? How did that feel? What was that like for you? And you do that all throughout your curriculum.
Okay, and they do that in
Many areas of study, absolutely. Shannon, did you want to
Yeah,
give an
absolutely.
example?
So for the Intro to HR Management course, you complete a service learning component as well. We served as consultants, basically, for nonprofits in the Cleveland area. I worked specifically with Providence House, which is a nonprofit near Ohio City. And we worked on recommending an onboarding plan for their nursing staff. And just being able to implement all the HR stuff that we've been learning into an actual business was super rewarding. So.
And this is where that, again, our Ignatian and Jesuit component of reflection really plays a role, because that's what service learning is really all about. It's applying and reflecting on that experience and tying it back to your academics. And how do you pull all of that together? All right, so we have time, I think, for one more question, if we have one, because we're at 11:45. If there's any other questions? If not, we're up here. If anyone has an individual direct question, please come up and talk to us. I know both of us are going to be at the fair
there at the fair
from 2 to 4 this afternoon, so you can always stop by our tables.
And
Thank
please
you.
feel free to pick up some materials from the table if you're interested.
And we look forward to seeing all of you here in the fall.
Thank you so much for coming.